The infamous 209 area code has produced many MMA greats in its time, but his coach Dominique Robinson, a Northern California MMA legend, not only for his presence over there in the 209, but also over here at Tachi Palace Fights, formerly knowing Jeremy Luchow very well in his time over there and notching a 5-0 record. And now, you know, both of them making the connection and saying, hey, I got this guy, Jacob Wilkins, he's a killer over here. Now qualifying for a championship bout over here. 559 fights, 108, main event, middleweight championship on the line. What do you guys say about this one, Alexis?
You know, Jacob has just been keeping himself refined with his style and execution of techniques every time he's in the gym. So the fact that he goes back to those basics and makes sure that they're all cleaned up shows a lot about him as a fighter. He says he feels like after each match in training camp, you have to become a different fighter inevitably. And whether you win or lose, you learn something extremely valuable while you're in the cage. And you can only gain that through being in there yourself. So just throughout his whole journey, he feels like the wins and the losses have just been beneficial for him.
And saying a big inspiration for Wilkins was Mr. Mark Coleman, Kevin Randleman, and Mark Kerr. So I feel like we're definitely going to see some ground and pound coming out of the likes of Jacob Wilkins if he's able to go ahead and get the fight into that realm. Our now one part of our main event is ready. Now let's take it over to our second part, getting underway. 559 fights, fan favorite in his time in the cage, and I didn't need to tell you that by the amount of phones that went up as soon as this man made his walk to the cage. Francisco Hurtado has known nothing but domination in his time in the cage over here at 559 Fights, notching 3 finishes en route to a night that could possibly produce 2 champions from Tri-City MMA, a gym that has seen an array of success here at the 559 Fights promotion pass. What did you get from Francisco getting to speak to him earlier this week?
Now, I know you mentioned his gym, so I wanted to ask him about that and how his gym, the coaches, teammates, everybody just helped him prepare. He said, our gym, coaches, and teammates have not only helped me prepare for this fight, but they helped me be better in myself and my life. And they do this through constantly pushing us to our limits and believing in us, always being there for us during the hard times and helping us overcome them.
You know, speaking of Cisco earlier this week was Phil Benetti over there at ESPN Fresno, and he got the quote out of him. He said, "You live your life how you fight your fights," from Mike Tyson. And when I heard that on the airwaves, let me just say, my arms on my hairs, I don't have many of them, Alexis, but they all stood up. All 4 of them did make a stand. And I just feel the intensity that Francisco is carrying going into this matchup, taking a little bit of time off of the cage. I mean, now a year removed from his last matchup over there at 559 Fights 100. It's going to be a fun main event here. We now look to take it over to our tail of the tape for this main event. 3-2 the record for Mr. Jacob Wilkins over there out of Stockton, California in Good Squad MMA. 3-0 the record for Mr. Francisco Hurtado in the middleweight division. Both these gentlemen making weight. Jacob Wilkins at 184.8 and Francisco Hurtado at 185 even. 3 years the elder for the challenger in Jacob Wilkins, and 23 years of age for Mr. Francisco Hurtado. Only a couple of inches separating these gentlemen in height. Wilkins with the advantage at 6'1", and Cisco Hurtado at 5'10". We now take it over to Momon for our main event announcements. Cage doors now locked here as we look to get this main event underway. Jacob Wilkins, Francisco Hurtado. Hurtado in the red gloves, black trunks. Wilkins in the black trunks, blue gloves. Referee Sergeant Dan Enriquez in there to separate the action. Here we go. Francisco Hurtado starting off from the orthodox stance. Jacob Wilkins as well, orthodox as well. And right away working the wrestling is Hurtado, trying to get on the inside leg of the likes of Wilkins. Working him to the ground now is Hurtado, and trying to develop the guard is Wilkins. Wilkins able to get those legs over, and Hurtado now looking to possibly build some ground and pound there. And now in the side control now is Hurtado. Trying to get that cross face on the likes of Wilkins. Hurtado now working that top mount, and possibly a dangerous position here brewing for the 209 native Jacob Wilkins. Able to pass into full mount, and now Cisco Hurtado working on the back of Jacob Wilkins. And what are you seeing so far here in this first round, Alexis?
You know, Francisco has just been taking advantage of every opportunity that is being given to him, and he's taking full control of this fight. So if he keeps it at this pace, I feel like it's going to definitely go his way.
He has shown that he has had a killer double leg takedown in his time in the 559 Fights cage, and able to show off another part of that highlight reel of wrestling there from Coalinga Horned Toads, who, like how we've been speaking in that high school football, I believe they're still one of the only undefeated teams in the whole entire Central Valley. So I wanted to give a shout out to those Coalinga Horned Toads over there, the hometown of Mr. Francisco Hurtado. And Wilkins now looking to possibly work from the guard here against Hurtado, but when you're getting ground and pound just rain down on you like that from such a powerful middleweight, and that's not often something you see at middleweight, is somebody that has that power to be able to put you out in one shot, and Hurtado has shown a lot of that in his time in the cage. Now
Jacob Wilkins said that he feels like he's shown his most growth in MMA through his discipline and dedication.
Now working the right hand there is Hurtado, as looks to get that hand away from the likes of Wilkins and work back to that rear naked choke position he had earlier in this first round. And getting back to the feet here is Wilkins and Hurtado. Haven't seen much here from Wilkins in this first round to truly comment about, but has shown a good job of really just trying to neutralize the attacks on the ground of Hurtado, and that could come into play, especially as they go into the deeper rounds. Hurtado has never seen the third round here in his amateur career, so that could possibly play into the advantage of Jacob Wilkins, who does have the fight advantage, having those 2 fights of experience over the likes of Hurtado.
MyTV 53 Sports is bringing you live local and national college sports. Football season is now new with our next live game Saturday, October 15th at 12 p.m. with Alcorn State versus Arkansas Pine Bluff. Be sure to catch all the action here on MyTV 53.
Dominique Robinson talking to his fighter over there in the corner, and just letting him know that there is a little bit of a brake pedal, you know, to go ahead and slow it down a bit. These 3x3 rounds, they definitely can tire out your opponent, and like how I was stating previously, Francisco Hurtado never seen that third round. So maybe playing into the game plan a little bit, Cisco Hurtado, without even knowing so yet, is but it's a very interesting dynamic that you like to see play out when you see these game plans collide. And firing off that right hand is Francisco Hurtado, as both of those gentlemen square off in the middle of the cage and trade blows to start off this second round. Wilkins works Francisco Hurtado to the ground now here for his first official takedown of the evening. Now looking to pass the guard here. Wilkins trying to go ahead, and Wilkins looking to go ahead and now work from the underneath of Hurtado, which has been a common spot from him here in this opening round. And now working some ground and pound there is Francisco Hurtado, and he's able to clear that knee there, Alexis, and now Wilkins is working his way back up, but if he's able to clear that knee there and just rain some ground and pound there and just continuously work that top mount and tire out Wilkins, I wonder how much more you can take, because I know Wilkins is a very durable opponent. He was showing that in his fight career for sure, but wow, and that right hand lands on the likes of Wilkins, but still standing is, wow, a head kick now. And like how I stated, you just gotta wonder how much that cardio is looking to come into play, because when Francisco's throwing these shots, he doesn't. He's looking a little more tired, especially as the second round's progressing.
Yeah, Wilkins is just tough. He's able to take it and just continue to deliver himself.
They often have the saying of tough as a $2 steak, and Wilkins is living up to that statement. And centerfolds here tonight. I mean, he has just walked forward and ate every single shot that Francisco Hurtado has thrown at him. And it's been to some point where you wonder where a man can just keep it going, and where in his mind he is just able to have that endurance to be able to push through. And he has truly shown that there is no lack of durability here in the likes of Mr. what he calls Stank Dookie, Jacob Wilkins. And now Francisco Hurtado working the top mount here on Wilkins, and possibly the gas tank raining a little bit on empty here for Wilkins as this second round is looking to progress into its final 20 seconds. Now giving up mount here for the second time in the past 30 seconds. And it just seems that it's been a constant battle of half guard and full mount for Francisco Hurtado here tonight. Got to give big credit to the likes of Mr. Jacob Wilkins for staying in there with the 3-0 prospect over there out of Coalinga, California. And what have you seen here through 2 in our championship main event?
You know, I feel like Francisco has been having the main control during this fight, and that's going to take a big part in the decision making. But I have to give credit to where credit's due. Jacob Wilkins has been staying in it and just taking everything that Francisco has been giving him, and his durability and ability to stay in there shows a lot about him as a fighter.
And like how you were saying, it does show a lot about him, and it shows a lot about that team that he hails from. I mean, like how we stated, Dominic Robinson, somebody that has had a lot of experience over here in the Central Valley in the mixed martial arts department, someone that was a pioneer for Tachi Palace Fights back when mixed martial arts was first getting its growing pains in the early 2010s. And it's great to get to see guys like that bring back their students of the game and get to compete in such high-stake matchups like this, as we now look to take into our third round. Wilkins, Hurtado, here we go for that 559 fights, middleweight and camo state gold. Hurtado doing a good job of winning the feet positioning here in these last 3 rounds. He's been doing now another takedown in the works there for Hurtado. It just, like how I was just about to state, has been really working Wilkins into a corner here, Alexis, and just making it to where Wilkins has to decide to where, hey, you're either going to go ahead and have to brawl against the cage with me, or you're going to go ahead and try and have to stand up against my weight.
You know, Francisco faced a lot of adversity throughout his life on the mat and off the mat, so he feels like he's grown and been improving on certain things and that his coaches have been having him focus on.
and someone that has seen the likes of everything in his career, not only in MMA, but also in his professional career. He's a correctional officer, much like the likes of Enoch, the Humble Beast Macatrell. So you know he sees some crazy things in his profession as well. And now possibly looking to clap off a what could be storybook night is Francisco Hurtado, as he has that arm deep on the neck of Jacob Wilkins. And Wilkins working those hands and trying to work his neck across the chin of the 185er, and possibly looking to become the middleweight champion is Francisco Hurtado. A very dominant performance here from the Coalinga native here tonight, Alexis. Hurtado doing a good job of keeping the legs basically non-usable from Wilkins, as he's been able to keep that right underhook underneath the legs, and it just completely neutralizes your movement at some points. You're not able to get your stance. You're not able to truly work off the cage and really just try and get to your own attack, and that has been the name of the game here tonight for Francisco Hurtado, and someone that, I mean, like how you stated, making a return to the cage after having quite the battle in returning, had some injuries that he had to rehab, and had some things that he had to go ahead and take care of besides from fighting. It's got to feel good putting on a performance here tonight in front of all these fans.
Yeah, you know, his fans definitely came out and showed love.
And got to be careful here in these waning seconds here of this third championship round is Hurtado, as he plays the guard of Wilkins and possibly looking to stand both of them up here with Manriquez, but looking at the action, only 10 seconds remaining now here in this third round, as we will possibly look to head to a decision here for our main event, something we haven't seen too much of tonight, Alexis, but a great fight there from both of these gentlemen. What could you say from both from these middleweights, man? I mean, you know, truly putting on a show.
Francisco definitely put on a show. Everything about his game was on point, and you know, you have to give some type of credit to Jacob Wilkins though for being able to stay in there with him. You know, he says that gaining experience is what's the biggest key for him. So going up against someone and taking them to 3 rounds when it's not common for Francisco to go that far is a win itself for Jacob. And
much to your comment, like how you were mentioning about Jacob Wilkins, he took this fight on only a couple of weeks' notice. Only, I believe it was 3 weeks' notice for Wilkins to be able to take this championship matchup against Francisco Hurtado, who he hasn't seen in the cage for quite some time. It has been a year since we have seen Francisco get to perform, so I don't believe Jacob really even knew what he was getting himself into tonight in terms of what exact version of Francisco Hurtado he was going to see in that cage. And I believe I like how you stated, he's got to give himself a pat on the back, because Francisco Hurtado is no slouch in the middleweight division, notched the 14th rank in the state of California, and I mean, you can't speak enough about his greatness here tonight.
Yeah, and you know, I feel like just for Wilkins, there's a lot that he can take away from this fight. You know, maybe working on being a little bit more of the aggressor in his next fight. I feel like there was so much more that he could have done, but we know him and we know he's going to come back stronger.
And tonight's main event brought to you by Prestigio Jewelers, where your credit is guaranteed. Locations in Fresno, Merced, Stockton, and Sacramento. Online at prestigiojewelers.com. We now look to have Mo Man read off our official announcement here for our main event. middleweight champion Francisco Hurtado is able to capture both 559 fights and Camo State Gold in our main event here at 559 Fights 108 from the Visalia Convention Center. Thank you so much for watching live along here on my